We are here today with Spyros, who is the founder of Baruti, which is a bespoke, beautiful perfume brand. Hi, Spyros. So great to see you today.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. Nice to
Yes,
meet you.
and you're in Greece right now, so it's really great to talk to you from way across the pond.
True, actually, yes. I'm in the island of Syros at the moment. Uh, yeah, brief
Great.
vacation. So just came from back from the beach. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah.
Yeah, you have a great tan.
Thanks.
And so your brand looks beautiful. I want to hear all about it. For starters, what is the meaning of Baruti?
Baruti is a word so it means gunpowder in Greek. Actually, it's derived from the Arabic barut. The original Greek word for gunpowder is completely different, but in we use the word baruti as well. So I chose the name because I like the meaning of it, the idea of a perfume, like a little explosion on the skin when you apply. But I'm not gonna lie, it also sounds very Italian, so it gives a bit of an extra flair to the brand.
Yes, it does. And I love perfumes that are very unique and different. What can you explain the type of blends that you do for your fragrances?
Yes, I think, well, because I'm the perfumer, I'm the nose, so I actually write the formulas. For me, from the beginning, it was very important to, like have my own voice as make something that's more distinctive. I don't think it would be interesting to create things that have already been done by others. So from the very beginning, and also the reason that I entered perfumery, because first it was a hobby for me, was because I wanted to express my own ideas. So that already, like simply by being the perfumer and having my own signature already sets us apart from other brands. Um, and then, personally, my aim, or what I set myself as a task myself to do, is to find the perfect sweet spot between complexity, wearability. So I like my perfumes to, like if there's like a spectrum from generic soup to chaos, disorganized chaos. I like to find the sweet spot where you have the complexity, the interesting notes sitting next to each other. It's not generic, as far as way from generic, but before entering the chaos territory. So basically, novelty with combined with wearability, because like I think it's quite easy to be an avant-garde perfumer, in the sense that like people smell your perfumes and then they go like, yes, I can see why nobody's done this before. This is not my gig, not my jam. I would
Mhm,
like
mhm.
people to be like, wow, this is so good, and it's crazy that there's nothing else like it on the market.
Yeah, it must be difficult to come up with combinations, or not, because of all of the options of notes and how different they blend together and what the outcome is.
Exactly. I think it's easier than people assume. It's because like so many combinations, and okay, being self-taught also sort of gave me the freedom to explore without having taking into account like the rules, or like the shoulds and the shouldn'ts combination. So I felt more at liberty to go out and discover and do my own thing. So I think that also, and then you discover that actually there's so many combinations that are untried yet, that work beautifully nice. So far there's no writer's block or anything that bothers me. So yeah.
Right. And how did you end up getting into perfumery? Because you have a background as a doctor.
Yes, well, it was a hobby that got out of hand rather quickly. So my background is psychology. I studied psychology. I've done a PhD in cognitive neuroscience, so sleep and memory consolidation. And at the time, so perfume has always been a huge interest of mine, but more like like as a wearer of perfume, but also other taste, flavor related things. So I've always been like interested in different teas, food from different cultures, coffees, mixology. But I never realized that this could be something that you can do professionally, at least not in my case, until I discovered some niche perfumer brands back. This was in the late 2000s, so 2008, 2009. I discovered brands like Andy Tower, Nasomato, Mona Diorio, and then I was like, hey, wait a minute. So these people make their perfume themselves. This is how. So I started researching, did a few workshops here and there, and from there it just took off. And I started first a hobby, and then I thought, okay, this is so cool, this is so interesting. If I don't try to become a professional perfumer, I'm sure that one day I'll be thinking, what if, and that that's a no-go scenario. So I decided to try and see what happens. And then, 15, 16 years later, here we are.
Well, congrats. That's a long time to be a perfumer and to have a brand. So are you global, or where are you sold?
Yes, we're sold. So Baruti is sold. So we don't have. Yeah, we are definitely Europe, America, North America, a bit of Middle East, and then there is a bit of Asia, a bit of. I don't think we have. We're not yet in Australia. We are starting some baby steps into South America and into Africa, but definitely so Europe, North America, Middle East, Asia is also now getting more and more serious. So I would say global.
That is fantastic. I said in the email that we had back and forth that I'm a huge fan of fragrance. There was a time where I worked at Saks, and I got to meet some of the major fragrance founders, and I just loved that fragrance world so much. Like I sort of became a sommelier of fragrance, because I find it just so similar to wine, with your top note, your mid note, and your base note, and your end note. So it's just, to me, it's just such a fascinating industry to be in, and it's such a creative industry too, to use your scent and use your nose to come up with a beautiful scent. And it's just so personal, right? Scents are just so personal for everybody. And until then, I was kind of always wearing the same thing. I wanted to be that signature scent kind of thing. But then after that, I'm like, no, fragrance is like wardrobe. It's daytime, it's nighttime, it's going on a date, it's going
Absolutely.
shopping.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the fragrance as a wardrobe?
Oh, absolutely. And I think even, so there's fragrances for different occasions, seasons, times of day, and everything. But also, I mean, especially I think for people, like when you're into fragrance, there's just so many interesting fragrances out there. So of course it's beautifully, it's super romantic, to have your own true perfume signature that you wear already for I don't know how many years, and you don't change it for anything else. But okay, sure, if this works, fantastic. But for me, I would get FOMO at some point.
Yeah, there's
just
so many options out there, and
yeah.
as soon as you smell something, you're like, you identify with yourself. But like, for me, I'm like, this one for sure is date night, and this one is daytime, and this one is
Exactly, yeah.
winter, and this one is summer. And
Yeah. And it's also like what kind of, I don't know, for me it's more like changing your whole personality, like, so it's not just daytime, nighttime. It's more like, okay, so now I'm gonna be like James Bond, and now I'm gonna be like I don't know, some other figure, and like now I want to pretend that I'm in this kind of setting. And so it's almost like theater, like taking on a persona, wearing a costume, and presenting yourself in a completely different way. Or I don't know, at least that's how I
yeah,
see, how I used to wear a perfume back in the
and
days. Because now as a perfumer, of course, I usually wear the things that I'm working on. So mostly the work in progress. And once it's done,
Sure.
I forget about it. But yeah.
Right. And you want to test the longevity of it, how it stays on the skin. And of course, everybody's so different with different pH balance levels that that's why one fragrance smells so different on different people.
Exactly, yeah. So it's the technical aspects. So for me, the longevity is one part, but the most important things is the transitions, between the notes, because it's kind of like when you DJ. So as long as the song is playing, everybody's dancing, but then the song comes to an end, and the next one needs to enter. And if that's usually the tricky parts of formulating, where like to make sure that the transitions are smooth. So where you need to fine tune and make sure that, okay, I need to extend this note a little bit longer, so I'm going to use this material, and then I'm going to tone down this other thing so that it's stuff like that. So it's so this is something that you can best test on skin. I must say that I don't work with a whole panel of people, so I'm my main guinea pig, and then my friends and family, whenever they if perfume that I'm working on resonates with them, I also let them spray, so then I can see different facets. But most of the time, everything is calibrated on my skin, and for better or worse.
Yeah, and it depends on the concentration of the notes as well, and the ingredients that you're using, whether it's going to stay longer. And that's why there's eau de parfum and parfum, and like there's different concentrations.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a certain composition. Of course, the higher the concentration, the more the longer it's going to last. But so between different types of fragrance, there, of course, the concentration is relative. So because if a formula is loaded with base heavy materials, then of course it's going to be more long lasting than a formula that's more loaded with top notes, like a cologne, a citrus oil. Even if you put it pure on your skin, it's just going to be gone after 20 minutes. So there's not much you can do about that. So it depends on the formula, but then of course, yeah, every formula is more long lasting the more concentrated it is. Yes.
Right. And then the more concentrated it is, or the more rare the note or ingredient is, the more expensive the perfume would be.
Yes, most of the times. It's not always true that the more long-lasting materials are the most expensive ones. And there is some very expensive volatile top notes, So it's not always, but most of the times, yeah. The like, especially, yeah, people expect a certain level of performance, so you have to formulate already in a way that meets that requirement. But it's not always. It's very often it is, but not always. Like there's also very affordable, low cost materials that just last forever. So yeah, if you load your formula with those, then you will have a very long lasting perfume, but for fraction. So like not very expensive, but like maybe it smells expensive, and then so maybe you can ask a lot of money for it, but it doesn't always mean that it actually is expensive. That's kind of like I don't know. It's like for marketeers, it's a very interesting aspect of perfumery, because like in other aspects, like if you talk about art or in painting, it's not even a question. Nobody decides the price of a painting based on the pigments that were used by the artist. But in perfumery, because it's art, but it's also a craft, people expect the price of the perfume to be at least correlated to the price of the materials. But it's rarely really the case, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the materials that you use, you're using sustainably sourced, biodegradable, upcycled. This is all about your brand.
Yeah, well, I mean, so yes, where as much as possible. So there is So we do use mixed media. So I use naturals and I use synthetics. For the naturals, I definitely want them to be sustainable. So we don't really work with wild harvested materials, because then you really deplete the natural environment. With the synthetics, there is of course, there is some materials that are readily biodegradable. I definitely avoid known bioaccumulators in my perfumes. So even though, from a technical and from a legislation point of view, there's nothing wrong with using galaxolide. It's actually still one of the most used musks, because of its very poor biodegradability, and because it has been already found in fish and stuff like that. So I don't use polycyclic musks, for example. We do use some woody amber. Some of them are a bit more biodegradable, some others a bit less, but the quantities are also smaller. And then in terms of upcycling, I think there is actually, like, people don't realize that, but actually almost all the perfume materials are already upcycled, because
Bottle.
all the source materials is waste product from other industries, whether it is the paper industry, whether it is the food industry, and even from the petrochemical industry. There's not a single gallon of oil has been extracted from the earth in order to make a perfume ingredient. It's all waste material that is then being reprocessed and then made changed into perfume ingredients. So in that regard, the perfume industry could be, like, I think there's a lot of people who don't even realize that only with the naturals, of course, the essential oils, you harvest the material because you want to extract it. So, like, whether it's a rose or whether it's a sandalwood or a cedar wood. But when you're using, when you're taking the leftover citral from the peel industry, from the citrus juice industry, you're getting the peels and you're extracting the oils from that. It's already a waste material in the first place. So that's that makes perfumery a very different kind of industry, I would say.
That makes sense. And so where's your lab?
So I have two locations, in Athens and in the Netherlands. So I used to be based in the Netherlands. Last year I decided that I needed a bit more sunshine in my life, so I moved back to Greece, also for personal reasons. And now for logistic, it's not all set up. It's my aim is to be fully set up in Greece, but the reality is that I still need two locations in order to be able to do my work. So I have two locations.
Yes. Well, you have to be there in your lab because you're the creator. So you're the nose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your fragrance, would you say it's like a shared fragrance? It's not female or male. It's shared fragrances. I mean, we see so much of that these days, or people just do it anyway, really.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't put a label on them for sure, but of course I do notice preferences. So like typically the more woody, smoky a perfume is, the more men tend to buy it, and then the more floral ones are mostly bought by women. But we are not putting the label on them. I don't even say unisex. I just say this is Baruti Damacupa or Baruti Perverso or Baruti Monono Avare. And if you smell it and you like it and it works on your skin,
Then do it. Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Exactly.
Yeah, I have to, you of course recall back in the day that Calvin Klein won, how it just blew up because it was kind of the beginning of this genderless fragrance era, and just the way they did their advertising and everything. It was just that was the beginning of opening up that option.
Absolutely. Yeah. True. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes I have like an idea, like why I'm making. Of course, I have an idea why I'm making it, but also a certain situation or a person. But it's I think it's the same way as when you paint something. Like I can say this is my inspiration and it's supposed to be about that. But if you see it and takes you somewhere else completely, then we can debate, but it's going to be a different thing for you, so it doesn't matter. And with perfume, I do share my own inspiration, and it's all, nothing is made up. We don't have a marketing department in that sense of the word. So most of the stories are really my own stories that I came up with, and the story and the inspiration behind the scent. But after that, like even Laurakimu, which is a perfume that I made for my daughter, which is with strawberry and champagne and magnolia, and then there is these young guys who come and smell it, and they are like, "This is amazing," and they buy a bottle. I'm like, yeah. So perfect. I love it that
Yeah.
this happens.
Well, it's really up to personal interpretation, and
Yeah.
again, it's just so personal. It's really hard to buy a fragrance for somebody even because it's so personal. I love that the fragrances themselves, they have like a story. Do each of your fragrances have that? Do you come up with a concept first, or do you just make the fragrance and then have the concepts? Like how does that process work for you?
So both happens. So because sometimes I have already the concept and the idea, and then my aim is to try to capture that in the formula and then make a perfume out of that. But there's also perfumes that starts, as I call it, bottom up, where I'm more curious, for example, about certain materials and how they combine with each other. And then when I say, this is interesting, I go on and develop it, and then like the name and the concept is shaping itself along the way. So then you have almost like an organic way of building it, and both are equally valid for me and equally important, because it's like what my brain comes up with, I find super interesting. Not to brag, but I mean, like, so I have these ideas. That's why I started making it. But then the materials sometimes are also so interesting and how they combine, and then and so then you come up with the things that I could not have imagined previously. But then I realized, this is fantastic combination, and let's do something with it.
It
So
must be it must be so thrilling to come up with a combination that you didn't expect. There's something that seems very maybe opposite of each other that somehow you managed to blend together. I mean, that must just be the fun part and the creative part.
absolutely, yes, absolutely. So when you see that, okay, this is cool, it actually works. That's the whole surprise aspect of it is even more surprising than when I have an idea and I make it. I'm like, okay, I had an idea and I made it. So okay, this is technicality. But when you think, well, let's see how this works, and then you're like, oh wow, this smells like that, cool.
Didn't expect that. Yeah, you were, and then you don't know until you smell it. What you've
Until you try,
created, right?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So that's also
yeah.
where, a lot of times, because I teach also perfumery, so students come up to me and like, I want to do this. What do you think of this formula? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what I think of this formula. You're just going to blend it and you're going to see what comes out, because even if it's not what you intended, maybe you learn something else from it. So, and if I just tell you, this is going to be like this or like that, maybe I'm wrong, first off. But then again, it's more about discovering. So you're an explorer, and you go out and you just explore and you discover things, and you come home with your notes and your like your cabinet of curiosities, except it's all full of blends and notes. So it's kind of like
Yeah, it sounds
always.
fun. I want to join your course.
Yeah, you're welcome. You should.
You have
Yeah.
to be in a lab, though, of course, to do that.
Well, I mean, we moved the lab, so for the course, so of course it's easier for me to do it in my lab, but then we also go to interesting locations and do it on the spot. Or I offer this course. I work together with the Institute for Art and Olfaction in LA, so we do the course online.
Oh,
Once a year on average, and then there's also like in-person locations, where either I bring the materials with me and everything else that we need for the course, or people come to my lab or to the institute, for example, and we do the course on the spot there. Yeah.
oh, that's fantastic. Okay, I love that. I love that. everyone can give it a go, give it a try, and see how creative and fun that perfumery can be.
Exactly. Yeah. I think if you're curious, I mean, it's the course that I teach particularly is made for people with no prior experience, but we end up at already a level that's pretty advanced. And so if you can easily discover in a week whether this is a path that you would like to pursue, or if realize or decide that, okay, you just enjoy perfume, but you don't want to go down the rabbit hole of perfumery necessarily. You just enjoy it for what it is, and yeah.
Right. And I have to say, I love your visuals. I think part of the perfumery industry is all about how you market in your visuals, because the visuals really tell a story, and that you even include the ingredients that are in the actual perfume too. So you can look at it. You can almost smell the picture. You know what I mean?
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love your marketing and your imagery.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is something that, like I'm the perfumer. I give ideas to the team, but I don't obviously design anything visually myself. No, I just don't have the talent for that. So, but I'm very lucky with my team. I'm aware.
Yeah, it really completes the story, because
Yeah.
obviously it's all about the brand. I mean, you start with the story. The story is kind of
Yes.
your starting point, and then you get to dive in and have the fragrance and smell it and try it on yourself. And then, the story resonates even more once you smell it and you get it and you feel the whole experience. It's a multi-sensory experience.
Totally true. Yeah, yeah. That's, for me, it's also very nice. It's nice when when something sounds intriguing and you're curious, but then when you actually put it on and it clicks, there's a chemistry. Yeah, that's an amazing feeling. I mean, that's also why I started, because I love that so much. And then yeah, yeah.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate our chat today. I love everything that you're doing, and it just sounds so great. And I think that's amazing that you're even teaching it as well. It's a really fun thing to try. And I'd like to tell our audience where we can find you. So if you could just give me your website and your Instagram, and
Yes,
we can go there.
absolutely. Yeah, we will. Yeah, the website is currently being rebuilt, but we're
Okay.
transitioning to a new platform. But our Instagram is live and everything. So yeah, the website will be back also pretty soon. Yeah. No, with pleasure, of course.
What a
Yeah.
revamp. Yes,
Yes.
I was very excited to talk to you today. So it's my
Likewise. Thank you
pleasure
so
too.
much. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you, Sam.